very much.
Welcome to the Geek Homeworld podcast. I'm your host, Ed, aka the Savage Tech Man. We talk film, TV, and tech, all from a geek perspective. You can find us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and you can subscribe and follow on YouTube at Geek Homeworld. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Be a part of the Geek Homeworld. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our yearly Oscars prediction show here on the Geek Homeworld podcast. I'm your host, Ed Ciucevich. You can see there, we're on youtube.com/at Geek Homeworld 4248. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching the video on this on YouTube, we appreciate it. We're on Instagram, all those other X and everywhere else, Blue Sky, all those apps that you got to have these days. And what else? If you're listening, we're on libsyn.com. So you Geek Homeworld. Anywhere you look for Geek Homeworld, that's where we are. I'm joined here with my film aficionado, my Oscar guru. He makes sure that I don't just see throwaway films, but I see really intelligent, good films. And he works in the industry himself, so he's got a love for film as I do. Welcoming to the show once again, my good friend Scott Schreiber. Yay!
Thank you, sir. Happy to be back. I love this time of year, even though it as it has been a weird Oscar season. I have done my due diligence. I have seen every major nomination here, except for the shorts and the documentary and a couple of the international films, which are hard to get to. But I always try to see everything so I can have an opinion. I don't like to have an opinion if I haven't seen a film. So when I talk bad about Emilia Perez, I actually saw it and I have an opinion and I can back it up. So and I hate to call it out immediately, but I think that's the glaring. That's part of why this has been a weird Oscar season. The main reason why it's been a weird Oscar season, with all the backlash of Emilia Perez and such. So,
yeah, and then talk of AI in different films, and that's going to be a discussion that continues.
Yeah.
And so much going on in the industry in the last year or so. Just recapping, we had strikes upon strikes, and the industry is recovering, but it's still not quite pre-pandemic levels. We're almost there, but we're not quite there yet. One of the good advantages.
I would just to interject. Yeah, work is hard to find for a lot of people. I was lucky to work through all of last year, but I know a lot of people that did not. So yeah, hopefully 2025 is a better year for every city. Obviously, LA's got the issues with the fires on top of it, and there's a call to call for more productions to come back to LA. And I think there's enough love to go around. There'll be productions here in Atlanta, and it's going to start to pick up again, hopefully. So,
the town of not my current city, but my place of birth, Savannah, Georgia. I know that it's been really rough. A lot of the actors and professionals in the industry I'm connected to, there's been a lack of productions with a lot of stuff going overseas, and it's throughout the industry. It's been hard times on a lot of people, but I hear that productions are starting to pick up down that way. So hopefully that's a good thing. It's a good sign. I'm still concerned, as you probably are, Scott, when you go to a theater and sometimes you're the only person in there. Even with some major releases, it's scary.
That's what I aim for. I go to the times where nobody else is. So
No,
I mean,
nobody with their cell phone or talking or anything.
but I'll say here in Atlanta, the crowds have actually been pretty good when I go on like an opening weekend or something. Like I've been pretty impressed with some of the crowds here. But
yeah, it hasn't been.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's great elsewhere. But here at my particular theater, it's been pretty busy. So I think people still go to the movies and want to go to the movies. People love going to see. I will say horror films still do well, and the big action movies, like even with Captain America with that big drop off in the second week, in its box office, that's unfortunate. But it still made a decent amount of change. People still go to the theater.
I am in a small minority of moviegoers that actually enjoyed Captain America. I wanted to go back and see it a second time. I just haven't had a chance to. I don't think it's getting enough. I won't say praise. The movie's got a lot of issues, but all in all, you got to take a movie in and you just got to take it for what it is. And there are parts that I really enjoyed, especially Harrison Ford and Anthony Mackie. But anyway, I'm way off script here. We got to get
let's get to it here. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just get to the.
We'll say if anybody is not aware, the Oscars are obviously tonight. If you're watching this, then you probably are aware. The Oscars are tonight, 8:00, I believe, on ABC. If you still watch television, and then you can probably stream it on Hulu or. And I'm excited about Conan O'Brien hosting. He's never hosted the Oscars. I know he's hosted the Emmys.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, never done the Oscars, but I know I did the Emmys at least once, and maybe the Golden Globes. And I've always been a big Conan fan, so I definitely am looking forward to him hosting.
And I'm hoping. Oh, sorry.
No, I was saying it should be a fun night. I don't know what the decision is on the songs. At some point, they said they weren't going to do the songs, and I'm not upset about that because I don't like any of the songs this year. So it's fine.
Nothing's really struck me either. Probably some of the songs in Wicked is probably the most that I got into this year. But
what we're going to do here is try to predict these the best we can and give you all the information about each category.
And I'm going to give the disclaimer right at the beginning. These are all our personal thoughts and feelings. They do not reflect anybody or anything else other than us two. It's in our personal taste for film.
Our feeble minds, yes.
Our feeble, uneducated professional minds. So anyway, let me start sharing here. Let me flip the screen and. Thank you, Scott, for really kind of putting this together. You did a better job than I would have. And so we're going to start with Best Live Action Short. Would you like to read the nominees and then?
Yeah, we'll go through the shorts really quickly because neither one of us have seen any of these. And I'm just kind of making my best guess at these based on what I read about them. Live action short, the nominations: Aline, Anuja, I'm Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Aline has something to do, I believe, with like an illegal alien story. So I think that's a little timely, and that may win. I don't know. So best guess. And that's the reason why we'll go over these ones that nobody knows, because if you are going to want to win your Oscar pool, maybe this helps. I don't know. This gives you a reason to vote for some of this stuff that you've never even heard of, right? So animated short, there's actually a little bit of a reason to vote for this one or to think that this one will win. Wander to Wander. It won at the BAFTAs, which is the British Academy Awards, and the animated and the Annies. It actually won an animated award. So I would bet on Wander to Wander.
And animated shorts, the nominees are Beautiful Men, In the Shadow of the Cypress, Magic Candies, Wander to Wonder, and Yuck.
Yeah, and I would just bet on Wander to Wander, if there's one to bet on.
Right. And you can see on the screen, if you're watching, the benefit of watching this on our YouTube channel at Geek Homeworld, you'll see Ed's picks and Scott's picks on here, and you can see that I didn't see any of them.
Yeah, so under who will win, obviously that's what we think will happen, not who we want to win. That's what we think will happen. And then Ed's pick, my pick, or these are what we would vote for. know, and
And
then
and the famous snubs.
and the snubs, because there's people and nominations in here that we think should be there that we're not. Yeah, absolutely.
And we don't want no snubs.
Of course not. But
Okay.
there's plenty every year.
Yeah. Next is best documentary short. The nominees are Death by Numbers, I Am Ready, Warden, Incident, Instruments of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra.
Yeah, again, I think the best guess is Incident. I think it's a story about an incident with the cops and shooting of a young black man, I believe. So I think that is more political than the rest, and they usually vote for political stuff, so that's why I have that there. No other reason. The only other one on there that I think is available to watch is The Only Girl in the Orchestra is on Netflix. It's about a woman who was a double. I think she was a bassist, not a rock bassist, but
Playing,
in an orchestra. But I think that one's available on Netflix.
The bass, yeah. Okay, then we have getting some more fun categories. Best visual effects. The nominees: Alien Romulus, Better Man, Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked.
Yeah, decent nominations here. A lot of monkeys. Tons of monkeys. I mean, it's pretty kind of the funny, the running joke there, right? Better Man, obviously, the Robbie Williams picture where he's portrayed as a monkey. Then you got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is a lot of monkeys. And then Wicked has flying monkeys. I mean, where are the monkeys in Dune Part 2 and Alien Romulus?
I don't know. I don't think I want to see any alien monkeys that'll mutated. That could be scary.
That's in the next. Yeah.
Better Man, it was a musical. It wasn't portrayed as that because, those don't sell as well to the general public. I went in and saw that. It was one of those Regal's Monday mystery movies, and my wife dragged me to see it, and I was like, monkeys, what is this? Why is he doing the monkey thing? It's so stupid. I tell you what, it didn't bother me a bit once I got into the movie and I just got past the first few minutes of that. I'm like, that was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. That might have had some of the best songs in it. Better Man. I thoroughly enjoyed that film. It might be one of my top films of the year. I don't know. But
okay, well,
very good film. And I don't even like the singer.
It's actually one of the few that I have not seen. I missed it. That was one I did not see. That it's
and you were put off by the monkeys a little bit, which is understandable.
I didn't understand the approach I didn't understand it from a filmmaking aspect. I got it from what he was trying to do as far as what it symbolized, but I didn't think it was a good idea from a filmmaking aspect because
I think it alienated the film.
Well, and you increased your budget like by $100-200 million, and you could have told his story. You could have made a lot more money. I know box offices and everything. I always say it. But I think from a business standpoint, they shot themselves in the foot because it was one of the biggest flops of the year. Considering when it came to money making and whatnot.
Well, honestly, I mean, not many people know who what was
Robbie
his name?
Williams.
Robbie Williams. I mean, I know that one song that he did, but he has a fascinating story. And
outside of England, he's people don't know him, but he's evidently a huge star there. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just want to throw.
But it looks like Anyway, moving on. It does look like we're in agreement across the board. We think Dune Part 2 will win. We both would vote for Dune Part 2. Kind of hard to beat Dune Part 2 in the visual effects aspect. It did win the BAFTA. It won the Critics' Choice for visual effects. So I do believe it's the favorite here, and it will win. I believe this team won for Part 1. So if it has anything going against it, I guess, would maybe because it did already that this team won for doing Dune Part 1. But then it is the team that has the most wins, as you see there. Between the 4 crew members, there's 9 nominations, 5 wins. The team on Wicked had 14 nominations prior to this, and only 1 win. And the 1 win was for Gravity, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
So I think there in visual effects, I think Dune probably takes it, but but Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, man, these are movies that are hard to argue with.
Yeah, I was about to say there's not a bad nominee in there except Better Man that didn't really need to be in that category. They did because they shouldn't have done the ape thing, but that's fine. It's cool that it's getting some recognition somewhere. It should have
But
definitely been in the musical.
as far as snubs go, I think that like Mufasa, like you can't deny how great those visual effects are. The Lion
I
King
actually didn't see
saga.
it.
Oh, okay, well, it's just pretty amazing
I know.
that way. It's the like it's not the greatest film, but the saving grace of it is the visual effects. Of course, it's pretty astounding that work.
And
I
Twist.
thought the visual effects in Twisters were great. And then the Robert Zemeckis' film Here, where it had the stationary camera and they aged Tom Hanks and all the characters.
And that bombed like there were a
Oh,
lot of bombs. There's bombs everywhere.
but I think the one that people would like to see here is Marvel here with Deadpool and Wolverine. There were some pretty solid visual effects there, especially the
That
effect
opening scene.
the effect of her hand going through the people's skulls and everything. That's so creepy. That should have been nominated. So,
I
but
agree.
let's move on after that.
Okay, one of my favorite categories, best sound. And possibly, arguably, I'm on Team Chalamet this year, with Dune 2 and A Complete Unknown. Complete Unknown might be my favorite film of the year. That's how much I love that film. And I'm not a Dylan fan. I'm like, kind of Dylan fan on the fringes. But, and oh my gosh, if you've seen Chalamet on hosting SNL, he is just really good. But for best sound, the nominees are Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot.
Yeah. So here you see in the notes about how many nominations four of the teams have been nominated an insane amount of times. They've all won an Oscars. So really, unless Amelia Perez wins, which after all the controversy, I think this is one of the categories where Amelia Perez does not win. I think it still is going to win a couple of awards, but not here. And you'll see this is a common thing with Amelia Perez. A lot of the crew on this film has never been nominated for anything. It's just it's like they're all first time nominees, and this sound team is here as well. I think that the only precursor for this that I could find, Dune won Best Sound at the BAFTAs. I think that's your front runner. I would give the nod to, I would vote for Wicked because of the recording of live music. I just have to put that above just a little notch. This is a tough one because I think the sound in Dune Part 2 is top notch. But I feel like recording live singing is just is a little more.
You know that they did that with A Complete Unknown. They did the whole soundtrack in the studio,
Right.
And when it came to filming, they were like, "Oh my gosh, what we did live was so much better." And so they ended up using what was better, the better track, the live tracks. And what impressed me, this is some dig you give it to my guy Rami Malek and Bohemian Rhapsody. He was basically lip syncing, and we had this discussion before. The Chalamet and Edward Norton, who was awesome in that film as well, and in Complete Unknown, they all sang their parts, and they did a very good job of it. And they weren't just emulating; they kind of put their own spin on things, and
that's why it's nominated here. Absolutely.
On an outside chance, I love The Wild Robot. It's one of the best films of last year, and if it got the award, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be sad about it. Wicked for me was very strong, but I also put as my pick Dune Part 2 because I almost feel like that could slide in there. Best sound, I kind of feel like the sound and the visuals of that film is just so perfect. It's kind of hard to bet against Dune 2, but if Wicked to get it, I'm happy.
And if you look at the history of the Oscars, especially recently, they do try to spread the love here. So it's like, okay, visual effects, sound, those will probably go to Dune. Okay, that'll probably be their 2 wins, right? And then we'll see later, like the production design stuff. I think we'll go to another certain film.
And who are our snubs?
Snubs, I think the sound design of Challengers was incredible. The Challengers for me is the most snubbed movie of the year. It got 0 nominations, which is ridiculous. And it came out super early in the year. But that was the film with Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and what's his name, Feist. I can't remember, Mike Feist, maybe.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's the tennis players and the love triangle. It's the way that film is shot and the score and the sound and the music. I mean, everything about that is the way it's made is just like it's really, really well done. So that I think Challengers should have been thrown in here. Twisters, again, the sound in Twisters was really, really intense. And I love the sound design of Civil War. Yeah, the way that was that movie's the sound design was the best part of that film, like especially that first terrorist attack when the bomber runs with the flag into the crowd, like that. The way that whole scene is designed is just beautiful. So yeah, so Civil War I think maybe should have snuck in there, maybe taking Amelia Perez's spot here. I'll be saying that a lot tonight.
I didn't see Amelia Perez. I didn't want to see it, and it just didn't appeal to me, and I didn't see it. And I don't even know that it was even available here. If it was a very short window of opportunity.
Oh well, it's a Netflix.
I did want to say Challengers has some good visuals like that. My favorite shot was the tennis court where you're kind of looking up through the tennis court. That was an interesting visual.
Absolutely.
I didn't love the film.
The camera work in it is amazing. Absolutely good.
I didn't love Challengers. It was okay to me, but it was still a good film. Best original song. I'm going to let you read those nominations.
Okay, I'll do it as fast as possible.
Sure.
You got 2 songs from Amelia Perez, El Mal and Mi Camino. A song from Sing Sing called Like a Bird. You got a song from The 6888. It was another Netflix film by a Tyler Perry film, actually, called The Journey, and written by Diane Warren, this is her 16th nomination. She's never won a competitive Oscar. They awarded her an honorary Oscar just last year. So they basically were like, here, you've never won one. Here, we'll give you an honorary one. But again, she's nominated again, 16th time. And then you've got the Sir Elton John and Brandi Carlile for song Never Too Late for his Disney Plus documentary, I believe it was. I think here, El Mal from Amelia Perez is probably going to win. I think even with the backlash, Amelia Perez will escape with 2, maybe 3 Oscars. I do think people still vote for it here because there are 2 redeeming factors from that film, no matter how bad you think it is, which I do think it's bad. Sorry, I keep saying it. But I don't think it's a good movie. I think that it offends the Mexican culture. It offends transgender culture. And the Academy is very out of touch with nominating this film as much as it did. But if you're going to nominate it, you could nominate a couple of these songs, which they have, and you can nominate Zoe Saldana, which we'll talk about later. But I do think El Mal wins here. If I were to vote, I would vote for Elton John and Brandi Carlile, or I would vote for Diane Warren to finally get a competitive Oscar. But I will say I don't really like the majority of these songs. The Elton John song is good. It's just because it's Elton John, but it's not great. And yeah, so I think there were 2 songs, particularly for me. There's a song by Miley Cyrus that was in The Last Showgirl, the Pamela Anderson film, that is used at the end of the film, not just in the credits. It is over the credits, but it takes you from the end of the film into the credits, and it basically kind of sums up what the movie's about. And so that song I thought should have been in there. And then Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross wrote their song Compress Repress for Challengers, was the best song of the year easily, and it had won other awards, and I don't know why it wasn't nominated here. It doesn't make any sense.
Now, maybe there's a qualification for this, but why isn't any songs from Wicked in here? Are they not considered original songs, or they're
correct? They're not original songs since they were originated on Broadway in the live show. So yeah, that's why those wouldn't be there. I was surprised they didn't write an original song just so they could get into the Oscar race for best song. But I have learned that that is happening on part two of Wicked. So there will be an original song in part two of Wicked.
Yeah,
Evidently.
and
Because
we saw Wicked, I think 2 times, maybe three. I love it. It's one of the best films of last year. And for people that hadn't seen it, it's really good. I like the writing in Wicked. I just thought there was a twist on the tale that leads into later on leads into the Wizard of Oz, and I thought, okay, that's an interesting take on things. Um,
yeah, it's a
it's
really solid adaptation.
yeah.
They did flush some things out, like some of the songs are not that long on the stage. They definitely flushed it out and let it breathe, and it definitely works. Yeah.
The obviously my pick is Elton John. I don't think you could ever really bet against Elton John. You're probably right that Amelia Perez's that song is going to get. Diane Warren's written so many great songs, a lot of songs that I like. I would like to see her get it.
I know.
Earn it
Just
instead of honor it.
look at that list right over there. It's all your '90s pop ballads, right? Or
Pretty
some in the '80s too.
more or less, yeah, yeah. Because You Love Me, Celine Dion. You've got How Do I Live. Trisha Yearwood and Leanne Rimes both did that. I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Aerosmith, they're only number one. Nothing's going to stop us now. I mean,
No.
she did songs by Chicago. You name it, she's done songs. Anyway, so got to move on because I'll just go off a tangent here.
Yeah,
So,
let's do score now. Yeah.
best original score: The Brutalist, Daniel Blumberg, Conclave, Volker Bertelman.
Keep
I'm
going.
sorry.
No, keep doing.
If you're watching the video, my right eye is like pollen infested. All the pollen is killing me, so I'm squinting out of one eye here. So,
No, I swear the best entertainment on this is just you pronouncing names. So let's do it.
or yeah, mispronouncing. Okay, Amelia Perez is Clement Ducal and Camille. Wicked is John Powell and Steven Schwartz, and the Wild Robot Chris Bowers.
All right.
Didn't do
So
too
yeah, yeah, not too bad. I think this one is a tough one. Like I, I don't. I think the Brutalist is going to win based off of the fact that it won the BAFTA, and I just there's something about like the way that film opens, and you didn't get to
I
see
haven't
it,
seen it
right?
yet, so
So the way
but
the
you can
film
spoil it if you need to.
well, yeah, I mean, it's not really a big spoiler. The way the film opens is you're essentially the camera's on Adrian Brody's shoulder, and it's as he's escaping Europe to get to America. He's fleeing Europe during the Holocaust or right before it got bad, right?
Right.
And so the camera work, it's on his shoulder, and just the score is so intense, and like it's so intense, and it gets you into that headspace of, all right, he's escaping something horrific, and then he comes out on the other side, and there's hope, and it's a really amazing score. But I would say the one score that I was humming when I came out of it, and this was kind of surprising, was Conclave. When I came out of the theater of Conclave, I was humming that score all day long. So like
Nothing like a jolly old song when they're electing a new pope.
right. But that would be my vote. I see you've got Wicked as yours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how Wicked doesn't win in this, to me, and I hadn't seen The Brutalist. Conclave was amazing. There's a lot of amazing things about the film. I didn't necessarily like or agree with the ending so much. I don't think that's as realistic, but it's a great film. Um, Help me out. Who's the actor? The main actor?
Oh, Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes. There's a scene in there, and I know I'm going off script, but there's a scene in there where he says nothing, and it's some of the best acting of the year. Just his facial acting. That's just how great an actor he is. And there's a lot of great supporting actors in there as well. But for original score, I picked Wicked. I don't see how you could get past that. I just think Wicked was just music is at the heart
And
of
I
this
guess
film.
there was enough original material for it to qualify, which is kind of interesting that none of the songs qualified, but the score did.
I
How
was
nice
just
would
gonna
it have
ask.
been? How nice would it have been for Defying Gravity to have been eligible for song?
My gosh. I could
Um,
see her tearing it down on the Oscars with that, and she sang it. I forget the actress's name all the time, but
oh, Aribo, yeah. So
she
yeah,
was
I could see how Wicked could get a little bit of love here. But at one time, I would have thought Amelia Perez would be your front runner, but then again, all the controversy happened here. So, but I do think this is a tough one. I would think it's either Brutalist, Conclave, Wicked. Yeah, all three could win. I did like the score for Wild Robot a lot. Interesting note about Chris Bowers there, who's got his first nomination for music. He had two nominations before for documentaries, and so like he's a documentary filmmaker who's also a composer. So pretty interesting there. And then everybody see there a lot of nominations for the Wicked team before. I
yeah.
don't know if that might hurt their chances there a little bit. Sometimes you not like to nominate new people or win or have new people win, but yeah, tough category. There again, challengers for me, best score of the year. I don't understand how challengers is not in there. Maybe because Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross win too much. They were just like, let's let somebody else have it this year. But hands down, that's the best score of the year is challengers. I could also see the score from the note about Dune and Gladiator 2. So Dune Part 2 and Gladiator 2, I believe both scores were disqualified because there were too many similarities to the original score from the original films. So that's why you don't see Dune 2 here or Gladiator 2. I
Well,
believe
that's a catch-22, isn't it? Because it's like you have to show connective tissue to the first
right.
films.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, I guess that's fair. That's an interesting point I hadn't thought of. Um, if Conclave wins this, I will not be upset at all. So your pick on is a good pick. I'm going with Wicked though. Next one is Best Productions Design, and the nominees are The Brutalist, Judy Becker, Conclave, Susie Davies, Dune Part 2, Princess Vermette, Nosferatu, which I finally got to see about a month ago. It was a really good film. Craig Lathrop and Wicked Nathan Cromley.
All right. So didn't butcher those names too bad.
No, no.
So yeah, you see there. This is another one where it's kind of I could see it going two different ways, but we're into the territory where I think the design awards are all going to go to Wicked. I think Wicked wins this. Both of us, I think we are in agreement. We would both vote for Wicked. All of those sets are practical. Like it's not CGI. It's not miniatures, although maybe there's a few miniatures in there.
There might
But
be a few in Wicked.
huh?
Maybe. There might be a few in Wicked.
Maybe
Technically, there is one. Remember when Jeff Goldblum, when they're walking through the little Oz, he's like designing it. It literally is a miniature he's walking
yeah.
through. I don't know if that
Yeah,
counts.
so I mean, I'm sure there are some miniatures,
Right.
but I'm saying as a whole,
That's
you're not just on like this small soundstage. It's like these
exactly.
big sets that they created, and I don't see how you could beat that. At the Art Directors Guild now, Conclave, like you have three different categories, so three different films won. So like Conclave won in the contemporary category, Nosferatu won in the period piece category, and Wicked won in sci-fi and fantasy. So like you got three contenders there if you're gonna pick between those three. The production design in Nosferatu was excellent. Like all these nominations are great.
Yeah.
Conclave, the way I guarantee you they didn't. I don't know all about where they shot. Like I doubt they were allowed into the Vatican to shoot a lot. Maybe I doubt. I don't know if they were able to shoot at all. I know that they built the Sistine Chapel. I remember reading that. that they built that set for the Sistine Chapel. So that's pretty impressive with
It was very
Conclave.
impressive, I thought.
Yeah. And then Brutalist, you have this whole idea. The Brutalist is like brutalism is a movement in architecture. So there's that tie in. So I could see that maybe getting some votes there. But I think ultimately it goes to Wicked. People are going to vote for Wicked in production design and the look of that film. It won the BAFTA, it won the Critics' Choice, and as I said before, it won one of the awards at the Art Directors Guild. So I think Wicked's your front runner there. As far as snubs, the design on the Substance was really great. I could see the production design on Gladiator 2 maybe should have gotten some love, although there's probably a lot of CGI there. And Alien Romulus, I thought the design of the world and the ships and everything was pretty great too.
It was pretty good.
But otherwise, I think these 5 nominees, like you can't really argue with them. They're all very worthy.
Yeah, the Brutalist I thought was about the elections, but it's not. So yeah, Wicked. I feel like Wicked walks away with this one, but there's strong contenders from Conclave, Dune, and Nosferatu, all in their own right, just like you mentioned. So next we have best makeup and hair. A Different Man. The nominees are A Different Man, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked.
Yeah, so here's the lone nomination for A Different Man. So it's nominated for its work for. There's a character in it who has, I guess it's called elephantitis, or familiar with the old film The Elephant Man. So with the abnormal growths on the face and everything. So you've got that work where Sebastian Stan's character does have that prosthetic on him. But it's one thing. That's why I think it's like, yes, it's notable, but it's like they kind of did one thing, right? So it's like that's why it kind of moves down on the list for me. The same with Amelia Perez. It's like they made a transgender woman look like a man, and I just don't see how that's very impressive. I don't know. Maybe that's offensive, but I didn't find that makeup work that impressive, and definitely not worth a makeup and hair nomination.
So I think we have costume design coming up, correct?
Afterward, yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say Nosferatu, but I was thinking hair and makeup. It's probably more in costume design than hair and makeup, I would think, on this one.
Well, you got to think that the makeup does include prosthetic makeup. So all of that stuff with Count Olaf or whatever his name was.
Then that, like, for me, changes things in a way.
Sure. Yeah, no, and that, yeah, because so there's a lot of good prosthetic makeup here.
Yeah,
but I think that's why the Substance wins. I think Wicked, it's either going to go to Wicked or the Substance that's going to win, I think. I could see Nosferatu sneaking in there, but I definitely don't think Amelia Perez or Different Man wins. But and the Substance and Wicked split the awards at the MUAs, which is basically the Makeup and Hair Guild. So, and there's again, one category is contemporary, one's period. They split them, so now they go head to head. Who wins? I almost feel like this is where they'll be like, okay, well, here's one for the Substance, because I'm not sure if Demi Moore wins or not. She might, but if she doesn't win, then this is where the Substance gets its one award. But I could totally see it going to Wicked as well. I myself would vote for Wicked. I think the Substance's prosthetic makeup is as impressive as it is. It's a little derivative of other body horror films. And then also there's this, I will choose to pick the most makeup in this category, right? It's like, because it's like you can say with A Different Man or Amelia Perez, they did one thing, right? Or one.
You glitched for a second. Can you say that again? I think you might have glitched for a second.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that I would pick the most here. So there's more impressive hair and makeup in Wicked. You have, how many extras and all of that, and
right.
And so the look of the characters. It's I would pick Wicked, and then the Substance is like kind of derivative of other body horror films, and only has a certain a few few moments where they really really shine. But I would pick Wicked. I think the substance is worthy, but I would pick Wicked there. As far as snubs, I mean, Dune Part 2 has pretty great hair and makeup there with the look of the characters, especially the Austin Butler character.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Maria, not the film with Angelina Jolie, her look was pretty astounding. So I don't know, maybe sneak them in there. But yeah, either Wicked or Substance there. I'm going to lean towards the Substance getting the votes, though.
And I love what you snuck in there earlier. You said that Nosferatu could sneak in there, and especially at night, I guess a vampire could, right? Get the nomination.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
alrighty. Best costume design. The nominees are A Complete Unknown, Adrian Phillips, Conclave, Lizzie Crystal, excuse me, Gladiator 2, Janny Yates, Nosferatu, Linda Muir, and Wicked, Paul Tazewell.
Yeah. Again, I think we're in agreement across the board. This is another Wicked category.
This is Wicked's strongest category, I think.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely. I think the production design is a little bit better,
could be, yeah.
but I agree. I think this is a shoe in to win costume. I think that Conclave could maybe rival it because of all the pretty robes. But I think all the precursors say Wicked's going to win this. Won the BAFTA, won the Critics' Choice, and it won at the Costume Designers Guild for fantasy film. Now, Nosferatu and Conclave also won at the Costume Designers Guild in different categories, contemporary and period. So they'll maybe give Wicked a run for its money. But I think the costumes in Wicked are pretty fantastic. I mean, the whole look of Glinda is, and really even in Elphaba too, are so iconic, and they nailed it. So I think that people are gonna respond to that.
Yep. Yeah, Wicked all the way. I just think it's Wicked. Best film editing. Nominees are Honora, Sean Baker, The Brutalist, David Jansko, Conclave, Nick Emerson, Amelia Perez, Juliette Welfing, and Wicked, Myron Kirstein.
All right, yeah. So we're starting to see a lot of the Best Picture nominees. You're seeing a lot of the same films here over and over. Wicked, Amelia Perez, Conclave, Brutalist, Honora. You're going to see their names a lot. As far as that goes, they did not spread the nominations out as far as amongst a bunch of films. I think outside of the 10 films in the nominated for Best Picture, you only have maybe another 10 that got multiple nominations, if that. So, or maybe 5. I think it's only like 5 actually. But anyway, this interesting category, a lot of first-time nominees, second-time nominees. Sean Baker nominated here. He is the director and writer of Honora. So so he's also editing. So I hats off to him. He's a regular, Robert Rodriguez. Does all his stuff for his films. First nomination for The Brutalist, Genko. First nomination for Conclave's Emerson. And Conclave is probably the front runner here. It won the BAFTA. You and I both would pick it. I think a lot of people feel the same way. The way that movie Conclave is edited together, because it feels like this political thriller, right? While they're just trying to figure out who to vote in as the Pope, it turns into this political thriller. It's cut together well. Probably the best paced movie of the year. It never really lets up, and you're on the edge of your seat to see who's the next Pope, which is kind of wild, Yeah, go ahead.
And things about that film, like a lot of films, it seemed like this year, to me, they're not promoting them as what they actually are. Because I felt like going into Conclave that it was going to be like some kind of Jack Ryan type of intrigue that way, but more like bombastic, and because they showed like the explosion,
The one action.
Yeah, the one action scene, and I was like, okay, it's going to be a B-level film if they go this route. And I went in and I was thoroughly impressed by the film. And you're right, it's just edited so beautifully that it's just it keeps you kind of on the edge of your seat. It's just a great film. I loved it. So yeah, hopefully Conclave will definitely get an Oscar. If it gets nothing else, I hope it gets this. You know. Oh, you said, did you do the snubs?
Oh yeah, let's talk at least about Nickel Boys. I thought this is the first time we can really talk about Nickel Boys because it only has 2 nominations, and I thought it was one of the best films of the year.
And I haven't seen it yet.
But the way it's put together, the way it's edited is very well done. And we'll get into that more so on the next category. Actually, we can save that for cinematography because I want to talk about it there as well. But I could also see like Dune Part 2 being up for editing. But again, I would pull Amelia Perez out and probably put Nickel Boys in, and then it's a good list because I do think Enora is really well cut together. The Brutalist, again. So this is the Irishman, because like how can you be up for best editing when it's a 3.5 hour long film? Well, in this case, yeah. Well, they put an intermission in there, so that's why. So I don't know. I do think that it is paced.
They'll get the award for the intermission because they actually put it there.
So again, I don't know if I would have Brutalist in editing because I do think you can cut the story down a bit, but yeah,
I have an out of left field thing that may not even fall into this category, but a film I saw at Coleman Domingo called Sing Sing that's getting a 2025 re-release is a good film. If you hadn't checked that out, you might check it out. But I don't know if I don't think it appears anywhere in here. I don't know. But,
yeah, it does. We'll talk about Sing Sing in a little bit.
Okay, great. I just felt like I had to give it some love. Best cinematography. The nominees are The Brutalist. That's LOL, not LOL. Crawley. Okay, sorry. That's not nice. Dune Part 2, Greg Fraser, Amelia Perez, Paul Gil. It looks like I should be able to say it. Gila May.
No, let me Guillaume. Like Robert Guillaume.
Oh, the dog scared me. Barkley, don't bark at me. I'm right here, buddy. Come here. Sorry, I'm dog sitting.
Hey.
I'm a dog daddy. So Maria Edward Lakeman. Okay, I can't see these. Nosferatu, Jaron Bluskis. Okay, you're gonna have to do these.
No, without a hitch. So this is a great category. Again, I would take Amelia Perez out of here, throw it aside. Although there are some good looks in it and the decent camera work. So again, that's actually one of the strengths of the film. So I do get it a little bit here. But The Brutalist is amazing. It's shot on 70 millimeter film, which is more expensive to do. But get this, The Brutalist budget was $10 million.
Wow.
So, yeah. And that's why it's one of the most impressive films of the year. It's shot on a shoestring budget, and it looks epic. It's on film. Every frame is pretty amazing. The performances are amazing. But, yeah, the cinematography, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you because I don't know where I'm getting this, but I feel like, is there a kinship to the cinematography in this and There Will Be Blood?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, yeah, absolutely. That it gives you that feel, that industrialist feel. Yeah,
that's what I was getting a feel for it, and that's like
that is probably the best comparison in cinematography you could do. Because to me, the film felt like an old Elia Kazan film. I don't know if you're familiar with his films from the 40s and 50s, On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando. Stuff like that. Like it felt like this just old school immigrant film that looked and felt like it came from that old era. It's not
unclean, kind of dirty, industrial kind of look. Yeah, very minimalist, I guess. Brutalist, minimalist. I don't know.
So I think it's the favorite to win. It won. Lowell Crawley won at the BAFTAs, but this could go any way, like to the other ones. Dune Part Two, I could see winning it. Greg
That's what I
Fraser
think.
won. He won for Dune Part One, so he could win again for Part Two. Edward Lockman, he won at the what's it called, the ASC, so it's the Cinematographers Guild, who has a hand in voting in the Academy. Actually, awarded best cinematography to Maria, to Edward Lockman for Maria, which
Could be.
Lockman and director Pablo Larraín are interesting filmmakers. Larraín he's done Jackie, the story on Jackie Onassis, Spencer, the one on Diane Spencer, Princess Diana,
Right.
and now Maria, about Maria Callas, the opera singer. So he's done 3 takes on important historical women. And the look of these films are impeccable. Edward Lockman's done all of them, and he deserves the nomination here, and he won within the guild. So that'll be interesting because Maria would certainly be an upset here because the Critics' Choice went to Nosferatu, and it's black and white film, and it's black and white.
And I see that you had the Lighthouse in there with Nosferatu. What does that mean? That's what he
No,
won.
those are his other films. So Jaron Blaschke has been the cinematographer on all of
The
Robert Eggers' films. So The Lighthouse, The Northman, and he also was a cinematographer on Knock at the Cabin, the Shyamalan.
Okay.
So that's what those mean. Those are references to their films,
Their films.
other films. So, but yeah, so Lockman had done Far From Heaven, Carol, working with Todd Haynes. So yeah, these great nominations here. I would put Nickel Boys in here because it is shot from a first person point of view. Okay, so you are in his shoes, the young boy's shoes, who gets sent to, young African American who gets sent to how do I explain it? It's essentially a home for young boys. But when he gets there, they illegally, of course, separate the black kids from the white kids, and it shows his mistreatment within the system.
Right.
So it's from his point of view the whole time, and then at a certain point, it actually switches to another boy's point of view. So, and the way that is done is really ingenious. The whole film done from that perspective should have been thrown in here. The look of it's great. The cinematography on The Substance was great. Like every frame showed her ambition. Pretty astounding. I love the cinematography in Challengers and Wicked. This was a great year for camera work and looks of films. Like I could see 10 films here that should have been nominated.
Okay. And if people want to go, what's the app that you've been using this year to document your films?
Oh, I swear by Letterboxd now. Every time I watch a film, I log it in on Letterboxd, and at the very least, give it a star rating. Try to do a review, and that's how I end up getting my accurate ratings. I actually came up with a more accurate way to rate my films, this year. I feel about it.
I had that kind of discipline because that's where I usually just come on and do it here on the podcast, but or on YouTube. And yeah, you tried to get me into it, and I might try to use it more this year. That app, because it is an interesting app to document our love of films, especially when you're like when we're ranking them or whatever, like your best stuff.
Yeah, and the community is it's a great community so far. I like being able to see what other friends are thinking and other people are thinking of films. I try not to read reviews before I see something, but I'll go back afterwards.
That's like when I went to go see Captain America. I saw all the negative videos and I just didn't watch any of them. And I was like, I'm going to watch it and I'm going to go in there blank slate and try to enjoy this movie for what it is. And I had a better time because of it.
No.
The next favorite category of mine, best animated feature. The nominees are Flow, Janus Films Sideshow, Inside 2, Disney Pixar, Memoir of a Snail, IFC Films, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, Artemin Netflix, and The Wild Robot DreamWorks Universal.
Yeah.
And
So
we have a consensus on this one.
yes, absolutely. Wild Robot is one of my favorite films of the year. It's in my top 10 for sure. Just totally unique film
As well.
about, basically it's a love letter to parenthood. Um, and
It's a beautiful film.
it really is. And I think it's the front runner here. I could see Flo sneaking in and winning because it has gotten some awards elsewhere. It won the Golden Globe, beating out Wild Robot, and it won 2 awards at the Annie Awards, the Animated Film Awards. However, the Wild Robot won 8 Annies at the. So I
Wow.
think the Wild Robot is your favorite. It won at the Producers Guild Awards too, Critics' Choice. The actually in the Art Directors Guild, it won an award. So I think that DreamWorks Wild Robot will prevail. We both love the film.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
I almost felt like cinematography could have been a good nominee to be in there, the Wild Robot. Well, for that, I mean, I don't know if can an animated feature be in best cinematography? I think it can.
I
Is it a
if you're
technical thing?
using a camera, like I feel like it probably could for like stop motion,
Okay.
but not like.
Something done in the computer.
Yeah, exactly. So technically Wallace and Gromit I maybe could because it's the claymation, which
Right.
I watched it the other day and it's a fun ride, but it's pretty simple. But it is the claymation. It's like Aardman. Aardman is Shaun the Sheep and Chicken Run and all the Wallace and Gromit. So that studio has been nominated 7 times for this award, and it won once for Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were Rabbit back in '05. So Aardman, very impressive claymation. I always am astounded about how did they do that. Like there's some scenes in there with water where there's a scene like a chase scene through the canals and everything, and it's like water spitting up, and it's like, how in the world they do that in claymation? It's astounding.
Claymation's, I'm sure, hard to do.
But out of the 4 nominees, Memoir of a Snail is the only one I have not seen, so I can't really comment on that. I loved Inside Out 2. I thought it was an excellent follow-up to the original.
I was going to say, don't sleep on that one because that was a good film. It was obviously the #1 box office film, so everybody liked it. That sometimes that disqualifies you. I feel like if it's the most popular film that most people saw,
Yeah,
because
and
sometimes it's about finding out what's not popular, but what is true high art.
you're
But
right.
Inside Out 2 it was better than I expected. It's one of those films that surprised me in a good way. I wasn't let down by a sequel. I think it's better than the first one. And I was into the story and I thought it was a good film. But visually, for me, The Wild Robot, which is our consensus here, a beautiful, beautiful film. The raindrops, is everything about it, just the fire that just everything they created was just stunningly beautiful, and the movie
Yeah,
had such heart.
it felt very unique, which I think is rare
That's it.
with animated films because you're doing part of a franchise. Even with Inside Out, it's a sequel, right?
Right.
So Vengeance Most Foul, it's a sequel.
I think The Wild Robot might have been, if not the most like original, like box office wise film of last year. It was definitely up there is one of
Sure.
the, because like you said, everything is usually a sequel, and it's good to see a new idea. And obviously it leads
Right.
into the fact that there'll be a Wild Robot 2, which I'm all for, because if it's as good as the
Yeah,
Wild Robot.
they'll do it with the success of it. But
Yeah.
a couple of stats here: DreamWorks, which did Wild Robot. This is their 15th nomination in animated feature. They'd won twice before. And the first one was for Shrek in '01. And the second one, they co-produced Curse of the Were Rabbit with Aardman Animations. So technically they split their second win. So this will be their own win, I guess, with Universal this time too. But because I do think Wild Robot's going to win. Pixar, this is Pixar's 19th nomination in this category. They've won 11 prior. So when Inside Out does not win, it's okay. And you see that list there of the 11 wins: Finding Nemo, Incredibles, Ratatouille, Wall-E, Up, Toy Story 3, Brave, Inside Out. So Inside Out, the previous one, did win. Coco, Toy Story 4, and Soul. So it's like all the like Pixar. Wow, Pixar never really, rarely disappointed.
Missed
Right?
it. Yeah, they rarely disappoint. They have disappointed on a few, but rare, very rare, very rare.
And now
Uh,
only
yeah,
two snubs here. Only two snubs here. I think Moana 2, I don't know if I would call it a snub as so much. It is a Disney film and it was okay, but
it
it
was
didn't live up to
okay.
the first one, right? But the
Yeah,
one big snub here, what I really would have loved to have seen, was Transformers 1 being put in here. I thought it was an excellent origin story. It was funny.
yeah.
It appealed to adults
Major.
and children. And it, for someone who watched the animated show growing up, it really captured that feeling more than any other Transformers thing I've seen in the last 20 years. So
Any
I would have
base.
loved to have seen Transformers 1 thrown in here, but oh well, what can you do? I do think Flo has a chance to win. It's, I will say, when I watched it, it's one of those, it's got this unique animation style reminiscent to like an old Manet painting or something. I don't know if I'm getting the right artist, but it's kind of like where it's a little blurry, where your mind fills in the gaps, the red, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it has this unique look, and it has some sort of message about global warming, I guess, and the environment, but it's kind of cryptic. So that's why I think that it doesn't hit as well as Wild Robot, because Wild Robot's message is clear,
yeah.
and Flo's
Because Wild Robot, I think, deals with death. If I remember,
absolutely. It's about parenthood and
yeah,
protecting and surviving, and yeah, absolutely.
it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful story. So Wild Robot, we think walks away with best animated feature.
Absolutely.
Best documentary feature. I didn't see any. And
I didn't either. This is pure speculation. No, the nominations are Black Box Diaries, No Other Land, Porcelain War, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, and Sugarcane. Some of these are available. I think Sugarcane is on Netflix. Maybe they're not readily available, most of them. But No
yeah,
Other Land is about Israel and Palestine, so that could be your timely one. I think
could be.
that's why that wins. It won at the Independent Spirit Awards, but what won at the Directors Guild Awards was Porcelain War, and that is about Ukraine, which has popped up in the news
Which
lately
is
again.
yeah, popped up in the news lately. Good
So
Lord.
if I'm a betting man, I would either do No Other Land or Porcelain War. Flip a coin in your pool and go with one of those.
Right. Um, I'm not an international man of mystery because I didn't see any of the best international features.
So
And
I've seen three of them. I've not seen The Girl with the Needle or The Seed of the Sacred Fig. And I don't think either one of those are being talked about as favorites to win. I could see any of the other three winning. At one point in time, this was obviously Amelia Perez's to win. Now I'm not so sure, but I'm going to stick here with my prediction and say it does still win international film because it's nominated 13 times. I think the Academy will want to kind of stick to their guns a little bit, even though they're ignoring, everything else. I do think this is where it still has a chance to win. I'm rooting for it to lose. I want I'm Still Here. Sorry.
yeah,
I think I'm Still Here and Flow are both far superior movies. I'm Still Here would be my vote. It's a very well told story about it's set in Brazil about a woman whose husband is taken off by the government and she never sees him again. So it's kind of her story on dealing with that and the aftermath of that. Fernanda Torres is up for Best Actress for performance in that, as we'll see in a minute. So I would vote for I'm Still Here. I'm hoping I'm Still Here steals it, but if I'm predicting and putting money on it, I would still bet on Amelia Perez because it won the Golden Globe, it won the BAFTA, it won the Critics' Choice. Flo won the Independent Spirit Award, but Amelia Perez was not up for that. So I do think Amelia Perez takes it here. Again, rooting for I'm Still Here.
okay. And I have no preference on that category. Best adapted screenplay. This is where it gets interesting with the screenplays. A complete
Yeah.
unknown. The
Oh, sorry.
nominees are complete unknown. Jay Cox and James Mangold. Conclave, Peter Strawman, Amelia Perez, Jaquez Thomas and Nicholas Liver Chi. Nickel Boys, Ramel Ross and Jocelyn Barnes,
Hey,
Sing Sing, Clint Bentley, Greg Kawadar, Clarence Macklin, and John Divine G. Whitfield. Those are the nominees.
man, like I would take over reading the names, but it's just too much fun, isn't it, to hear
It's
you do
always
it?
fun to hear me
So,
try.
a lot of first time nominees here. Peter Strawn for Conclave. This is his second nomination. He was nominated for Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in 2011. Jay Cox and Mangold have been nominated before. Logan for Mangold, he was nominated for Logan. Jay Cox for Age of Innocence, Gangs of New York with Martin Scorsese. The other guys, first time nominees for Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, Sing Sing. Sing Sing, the writers were the inmates, correct? Like
I
that film.
think so, yes.
We can talk about Sing Sing a little bit here. This is its first nomination that we're seeing. Coleman Domingo's also nominated. A lot of people were talking about this could be up for Best Picture, and I don't have it quite that high on my list, but I get it. It's a very unique take. You're actually using former inmates, is from what I understand.
Right.
They weren't actually incarcerated at the time of filming, but they were former incarcerated men. And it's
Right.
a film that uses them as the actors around Coleman Domingo, of course.
Right.
But the movie should be praised because it is showing a positive image of incarcerated black men, not just black men, incarcerated black men, and showing that rehabilitation is possible, and in these people's cases it did work for them. The arts program, because that's what the movie's about, to fill people in that haven't seen it, it's basically these inmates are enroll in an arts program where they're acting and putting on plays. And so, yeah, I do like go ahead. Yeah.
This speaks to me in a way, this film, and in general, when you're talking about a positive role model, when Denzel Washington and Halle Berry won their first Oscars for acting, they were for probably darker films, that weren't the best portrayal of being Black Americans, and so
or problematic, or they were playing the because in Denzel's case, his first Oscar was for Glory, so he's playing an African American in war, but affected by slavery. Right. So, but it's a slave story. So it's kind of this, it's a role that is common amongst the African American community. While it may so I do think that's the stereotypical role that they usually have to play. Right. But this is changed. Right. Is the point of Sing Sing. And I think the point you're trying to make, correct?
And exactly. Thank you. And especially Coleman Domingo's character, he's trying to better himself, and he's trying to better those around you. And it's kind of like existing in this little world and making the best you can of it, whether they were there, convicted improperly or whatever, I don't know. They're actual stories of the characters. At least, he's trying to do something better. He's trying to better himself. And I think we need to see more stories. I think that's more original than retreading the same archetypes, because, if we're progressing as a society, it's not that it's not important to know your history. I get that. And I totally support that, but it's good and refreshing to see a new take on things where at least, he is working towards bettering himself and others. And, and you see how people can get stuck in that system of incarceration. And it speaks to like society letting you do your time if you're truly, sorry for what you did and you're trying to better yourself. prisons shouldn't be about, unless you've really done a heinous crime that there's no coming back from, you still should be able to rehabilitate people, and they should be given an opportunity to better themselves if they're truly and honestly trying to be better people and to be a better functioning member of society. And so this film, it spoke to me in a lot of ways, and I think it's one of those sleeper films, that people kind of sleep on, and then you realize that was a pretty good film.
Yeah. So yeah, it's nice to see it nominated here. As far as predictions, it looks like it's going. Adapted screenplay is going to Conclave.
Right.
Peter Strawn won the Golden Globe, won the BAFTA, won the Critics' Choice. It just seems like that's where it's going, and it looks like you and I would both vote for it. So,
yeah, in spite of all that, yeah, because Conclave just had that twist, and it had, and you were always kind of guessing throughout the film who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, kind of thing, and that intrigue, that really speaks to me. I really like that. So yeah, I want Conclave to pick up this award. Snubs. What are our snubs on best adapted screenplay?
I could see that. I could have seen Wicked being nominated here, or Wild Robot, or Dune Part 2. Those are solid adaptations, especially Wild Robot. I think probably is the most deserving there of the snubs to get in there. I thought it was such a unique and beautiful script. So that for me should have been in there.
Yeah. Okay. Oops. I jumped all over the place there. Adapted screenplay. Okay, best original screenplay. Can you differentiate real quick between original and adapted? You probably could. I've asked you this question every year. You're going to say, well, one's original and one's adapted.
I mean, it is pretty much that simple.
Okay.
If it's based on previous material from somewhere else, essentially,
then
it gets thrown into adapted.
Okay. So the nominees for Best Original Screenplay are Anora by Sean Baker, The Brutalist, Brady Corbett, and Mona Fastvold, A Real Pain, Jesse Eisenberg, September 5th, Tim Fellbaum and Moritz Binder, and The Substance, Coralie Fargate. I don't know.
Hey, there you go. You got it's French, so it's Farge. Okay. It's Farge. So first time nominees across the board here for screenplay. Jesse Eisenberg has been nominated for an Oscar before, but for his acting in The Social Network.
Right.
But this is his first screenplay nod. There's no other vote for me here than A Real Pain. You have picked it here as well.
Same.
I'm going to go with this is more of a wishful thinking for who will win. I put it there, even though it does have some backing here with some precursors. Jesse Eisenberg won at the BAFTAs at the Independent Spirit Awards, so he's won a couple. But The Substance won at the Critics' Choice, and what hurts Jesse Eisenberg and A Real Pain's chance more is that Sean Baker won the Writers Guild Award for Anora. So that's where I could see this original screenplay going to Anora instead of A Real Pain. But I'm going to have some wishful thinking here and say A Real Pain will win. Jesse Eisenberg will win. I think it is the best script of the year. I am a little biased as a Jewish man, but this story is about dealing with generational trauma from the Jewish perspective. And it's funny.
I want to say something about that.
Go for it. Yeah.
I think even beyond, if you take, and that's a big part of this film, from the Jewish perspective, but if you take that out of it, I'm a Catholic, and it spoke to me in the same ways I think it spoke to you. You could take, it could be the Italian perspective, it could be the Irish immigrant perspective, and it would work for me. I think the message is strong enough. The themes are universal enough.
Right.
I actually identified with more with help me out, Home Alone's brother.
Well, honestly,
I think, or did you?
I think I actually identified a lot with both, because because
I
I
was
am
gonna
a
say because
very,
I feel both. I'm a little bit of
and
both.
I think that is a common thing where people see themselves in both of these characters. Okay, and I think that's the brilliance of a part of the brilliance of that
Yes.
script. Because I am a very time oriented person, the Jesse Eisenberg. The whole thing at the
Right.
beginning, the whole thing at the beginning when he's texting him about where are we going to meet, and it's like he's over and over texting and calling him, and like, hey, where are you going to be? I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Like
I felt
that
like
is
I felt this film was about us in a way.
right. And I was about to say that.
When are we
I would
recording the
be
podcast? I don't know. 2, 3, 4. Let's just wing it. And you're like,
correct in
no,
that
no.
scene. In that scene, I'm Eisenberg. You're Culkin.
Yeah.
But in other scenes,
You're
I'm
definitely Culkin. I see
I'm
you as the
Culkin.
Culkin character, and I want to be more Culkin like, but sometimes I'm more Eisenberg like. So yeah, I totally was. I found myself switching the characters, and so that's why it worked for me on so many levels. I mean, the part where they walk into the concentration camp. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to clap there. The part where they walk into the concentration camp is so incredibly powerful, and
Right.
just like you know it, there's another part, and I don't want to, spoil too much of the movie, but you should have seen it at this point if you haven't. Um, but when Culkin's character, he's so damaged. You think that he has no cares in the world, and Eisenberg's character is jealous of him. He even kind of says it. But for me, the best part in that film is the restaurant scene where Jesse Eisenberg just breaks down. He should have been nominated for that. He maybe is. I don't know. But
No, we'll talk about that.
okay, because that was the best part of the film for me. But the part with Karen Culkin's character when the guy that was really nice, he was English, I think, the tour guide or whatever of the whole thing, and he just lits into him in the graveyard there, and he's like, these were actual people, and he's like, and he breaks that guy down, and then falls back into this almost other personality, and but it affects that guy that he changes how he does the tour. But
Right.
you see how damaged and how messy Culkin's character is, but everybody loves him. He can screw up royally and just make a mess of everything around him, but then somehow people are drawn to him and they just say,
Yeah.
oh, he's a good guy.
And
And
that's again, that's the beauty of the film, the yin and the
it is.
yang.
It is.
You're literally crying in one scene, and then in the same scene you're laughing,
Yeah.
and that is a testament of a great script. So I do hope it wins there. My only snub for original would be for challengers. I'm on the challengers boat again here. I would have put that in there possibly. Although all 5 of the nominees I think are definitely worthy. I'm definitely curious to see what Jesse Eisenberg does next. This was his second feature film. I have not seen his first, which is called When You Finish Saving the World. I want to go find it and watch it. I think he's going to be a great new young auteur for us to watch.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with The Real Pain. I was so glad I saw it. It was definitely one of the best films of 2024 if you haven't seen it.
Briefly, because it's not nominated for anything else, I do want to talk about September 5 for a second.
Yeah.
This is its lone nomination. I do like it in screenplay because I thought it was a unique take where you focused solely on the news crew. I think
It made me think of Civil War because that's from a not newspaper, a photographer, whatever, journalist, photojournalist.
photojournalist perspective.
Even though this is much more real and much more serious a film in that sense.
Yeah. So it is an interesting perspective. I like that where it is kind of you're kind of it's a little claustrophobic because you don't go out and see what's happening. You are in the newsroom the whole time. So in that regard, I think it's a little detrimental to the film because you're keeping the trauma at arm's length, so you aren't quite getting how heavy it is.
But you're framing how history is going to look at that, at least visually. And and I get what you're saying, but I'm on the other side of it because I like that technical side of it, and I know you do as well. You appreciate that as well. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, you're distanced from it, but you're the eye of the future, though, how the public's gonna
I mean,
generally see this.
I
Yeah.
do think they balanced that. They made up for it by showing the journalistic, or what is the right way to say it, the responsibility, how heavy that responsibility was for these journalists who were used to just filming sports, right? They
Right.
weren't
And all of a
used to
sudden they
doing
became like the news guys to go to. They were breaking this news story, or it was breaking all around them.
which a friend of mine I was talking to him about this movie is like, yeah, imagine if that happened now and Charles Barkley and and
Shaq. Shaq is doing us.
had to cover the event. Oh Lord.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That wouldn't be the same. Yeah, best supporting actor here.
All right.
Nominees: Yura Borisov for Honora, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain, Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce, The Brutalist, Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice.
Yeah, so as you see here, all first-time nominees except for Edward Norton. This is his fourth nomination. He was nominated for Primal Fear, his very first feature film role. Also for American History X and Birdman. So this is his fourth nomination. I do not think he wins. I think this is the lock of the night. If there is one, there's probably 2 or 3 locks that you can guarantee are going to happen. And this is Kieran Culkin winning for A Real Pain.
Yeah, we're in agreement there. Now, I tell you what, when I watched A Complete Unknown, which possibly, arguably, could be my number one film of the year, as much as I like Chalamet, I really liked Edward Norton's character playing, and I forget this character's, the famous singer Pete Seeger that he
Yeah.
was playing, and I just thought he just really drew me in. Really makes you like his character, and then later on you kind of don't like his character because you see he's kind of pigeonholing Dylan, and
Well,
Dylan's
and
such a free bird.
ultimately that's the point of the film, right? It's
Yes.
showing Dylan trying to be creative and to progress while still honoring the past, because he obviously reveres Arlo. Is it Woody Guthrie or Arlo Guthrie that he's visiting in one of the Guthrie?
I think it's Woody Guthrie. I think.
And so he has this connection to Guthrie and Pete Seeger, and he wants to honor that, honor the connection to folk, but he wants to progress with his music and play electric. And it is that that's the conflict of the story, is him going electric and moving past the folk community. And Edward Norton's character is the representation of that. He's the tether to the folk community, trying to keep Dylan in the folk community. And he does an amazing job. I love seeing Norton here. He's an amazing actor. Evidently kind of hard to work with, but
you can't pass up Kieran Culkin's just masterful performance.
I will say it's no, you can't. He's amazing in A Real Pain. He nails it. Again,
What are your thoughts on Guy Pearce sneaking in for Best Supporting Actor with The Brutalist?
So I'm kind of shocked it's his first nomination ever.
Yeah.
Like, I would have thought that maybe, I know Memento was a small film back in 2000, I think.
But it's become such a classic.
Yeah, you would have thought maybe he was nominated for that or LA Confidential, but so he's finally nominated. He's definitely worthy here. I remember after the film thinking, man, Daniel Day-Lewis should have played that role. And
maybe that's where I'm drawing it.
Yeah, exactly. But Guy Pearce was great in it. I will say Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn in The Apprentice. I did get to watch this the other day. Wow, what a performance from him and Sebastian Stan. I get why they're both nominated, because they did what I think most people would think were impossible. Here I am. I'm
impossible.
We've been recording a long time, and that's ingrained in me. It's a Simpsons quote from Ralph Wiggum. Me fail English, that's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible.
But they did what they people thought was impossible. He made Roy Cohn look human.
Okay.
They humanized Donald Trump and Roy Cohn in that film, so their performances are definitely worthy there. A note here for Succession fans: Kieran Culkin and Jeremy Strong played brothers on the show, nominated for countless Emmys. They both won Emmys for that show. Now they're both in the same category for supporting actor. Culkin's going to beat out Big Brother there for supporting actor, though. Snubs here, I think Stanley Tucci in Conclave probably should have gotten some recognition.
Yes.
Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2. Pretty bonkers performance there. He went for it, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So I could have seen Denzel there. The guys from Challengers, O'Connor and Feist, were both great. Although you could probably call them lead actors. But
I have a hard time seeing Stanley Tucci without thinking a Devil Wears Prada. That character, it's such a good character. I don't know. That's a
now
guilty pleasure.
I will say a name that nobody's talking about in supporting actor that I'm a little upset that it didn't keep up the momentum from March was Javier Bardem in Dune Part 2. Like, remember after seeing Dune Part 2, so many people were saying Javier Bardem stole that movie. And he does. He steals every scene he's in that film. So if there's an acting nomination from Dune, it should have been Javier Bardem. So I would have loved to have seen him thrown in there. I'm not as big on Yura Borisov for Anora. I thought that was a kind of a strange nomination. He has the one emotional scene at the end with him and Mikey Madison. It's a dual scene there at the very end that I think they both get nominated for that scene alone. So I don't know. I maybe would take him out there if I was going to take anybody out. But Kieran Culkin going to win. Lock it in.
Lock it in. It's done. Best supporting actress. Now we're getting to the really fun ones. I'm sorry. Nominees are Monica Barbero, who is fantastic as Joan Baez, I think. A complete unknown. Ariana Grande was wonderful in Wicked. You kind of want to hate her, but she's so adorable or whatever. She's just really good at that. Felicity Jones, The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini in Conclave, and Zoe Saldana and Emily Perez. You think, or we think, Zoe Saldana will win, but you and I both agree that Rossellini deserves this, and it's not a big role.
No.
But it's important. And I've known nuns, being Catholic. I've known nuns just like her. And I know that if things get done and things kind of working behind the scenes, that it's usually a character like that, a person like that, or that title. And Rossellini, even if they say, oh, we're giving it to her because it's a lifetime achievement or whatever, it's actually a good role. It's one of those short roles, but the film is much better for having her character in it, and she plays it so masterfully. And what do you have to say, sir?
Yeah, agreed. She's my vote for sure. I actually have her as my number one this year, which usually I'm not big on the limited screen time winners. And I saw that I think her screen time is 7 minutes. So, it's like when Judi Dench won for Shakespeare in Love. But I'm on board with it because her scenes are so powerful and they're so meaningful and important to the story. And I'm also, my favorite actress of all time is Ingrid Bergman. So I am a little biased because Rossellini is Bergman's daughter, and it would be cool to see her win and match her mother, although she'd have to win 3 Oscars to match her mother. But I do think it's a little unfair for Zoe Saldana to even be in this category. So if you've seen Emilia Perez, which I know you haven't, Zoe Saldana is in every frame of that movie. She is more lead than the actual lead who they're calling Carla Gascon. So it's like, I don't understand why Saldana is in supporting. She is the driving force of that film. I do think she deserves to win. She's amazing in it. She is easily the best part of the film, which which is proof that you can have a good performance in a bad film, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not going to be upset when she wins because this is another lock. I think Zoe Saldana is a lock to win because she's won the Golden Globe, BAFTA, SAG, Critics' Choice. Nothing's slowing her down, not even the controversy, which she has separated herself from the controversy. She's kind of, and so has the marketing team of the film. They've really separated themselves from Carla Gascon, which we'll talk about when we get to Best Actress. But Saldana is the front runner there. They're all first-time nominees. Felicity Jones was nominated once before for Theory of Everything, the story about Stephen Hawking. But I do think it's interesting. Ariana Grande, I think you definitely have to have her there. There are a lot of pairs that should be nominated, right? Ariana Grande, like you have Grande and Arrivo, you have to have them in there. The Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice, that makes sense. And so forth. What did not happen here, unfortunately, was having Margaret Qualley nominated. She's the biggest snub there for supporting actress. I think they should have put Margaret Qualley in there probably Saldana should have been in a Best Actress instead of supporting. That would make sure that Margaret Qualley was in there for the substance. Because I think Demi Moore being nominated and then you have Margaret Qualley being nominated, that makes sense, and it should have been that way, but it was not. Selena Gomez was snubbed for supporting actress, but evidently she didn't speak Mexican. Oh my God. Speak Spanish. Her Spanish was very bad, evidently. So it's probably rightfully so that she was not nominated. Zendaya was great in Dune, but do you nominate her? I don't know. Katie O'Brien for Love Lies Bleeding was also kind of mentioned, but moving on to Best Actor, then let's do it.
One thing, we've got it less than 30 minutes now left in the recording, so just letting you know. I'm going to run to the restroom. You go ahead and announce the Best Actor for me, and I'll be right back. Okay. I promise.
All right, so we've got Best Actor. We've got Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. Sebastian Stan, the only first-time nominee. Brody's won before. He won for The Pianist back in 2002. You may also know him from every other Wes Anderson film. He would be your front runner right now. He won the Golden Globe, he won the BAFTA, he won the Critics' Choice. Chalamet, though, won the SAG Award. So Chalamet, little Timmy, may sneak in there and take the Oscar from Brody, considering the voting body of the SAG Awards. A lot of them vote in the Academy. So Chalamet could win. His speech at the SAGs was interesting, depending on how you take it, as cocky or arrogant or just confident. He said he wanted to be one of the greats. He mentioned Brando, Daniel Day-Lewis, Viola Davis, Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps. Like, those are the people that he wants to be alongside. So I could totally see him winning. I think a lot of people will get behind him. He was the youngest to ever win a SAG award. Now the SAG Awards have only been going for, I want to say 30, 40 years, not as long as the Academy. But those are your two front runners, Brody and Chalamet. We talked a little bit about Coleman Domingo. He has one big scene at the end where he lays it all out there. This is his second nomination. He was nominated for Rustin, I believe, last year. Then you've got Ralph Fiennes in Conclave. This is his third nominations. He was also nominated for Schindler's List and The English Patient. So it's been a while since we've seen Ralph Fiennes, and here he is again. Ed and I both have him as our favorites. I don't think he'll win, but we both agree that he gave the best lead acting performance in our opinion. Sebastian Stan down there is interesting as we go into Thunderbolts. Wouldn't that be great if we could say Oscar-winning Sebastian Stan before Thunderbolts? Not going to happen, but he did have two great performances this year. And The Apprentice is what he got nominated for, where he plays Donald Trump, a young Donald Trump. and it's an origin story for Donald Trump. And what he does is pretty amazing. Like, especially, it's essentially in the early parts of that film, you see the humanity in Donald Trump being corrupted by Roy Cohn. And then at the end of the film, you see the fully transformed Donald Trump as we know him today. And then you kind of see him kind of shitting on, for lack of a better word, Roy Cohn in his old age as he's dying from AIDS. So, and so you're seeing the humanity on both spectrums, but at different times in the films. It's pretty interesting. Sebastian Stan won a Golden Globe this year for a different film, but he wasn't nominated for A Different Man. So I don't think he has a chance to win. It's either Brody or Chalamet here. Chalamet entered the conversation with the SAG Award, as I mentioned while you were off screen.
Okay.
Anything you'd like to add there, bud?
Obviously, I picked Rafe Fiennes. Am I saying it wrong? Because it's not Ralph.
I've always heard it as Rafe. So I'm going to continue to say that even if I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, I'll go with Rafe Fiennes. Like I said, there was literally one scene in the movie where he says nothing, and I think it's like the best acting in the film, on top of the rest of it. He's so believably so commanding in his performance. If Chalamet won, I would not be upset. Like a Complete Unknown was arguably one of my favorite films of the year. And Coleman Domingo, I tell you, I'm not a big Coleman Domingo fan, but I liked him in Sing Sing. And when I saw that he was nominated, I was like, yes, fine. I felt like he deserved it for that film. And we talked about how I thought Sing Sing, what we thought, how, good a film that was. But yeah, Fiennes is my pick here. And I would not be surprised if Adrian Brody got it. Well, that's who you think will win. We think will win. And I could kind of see that. And maybe Daniel Day-Lewis will show up to give him the award. No, that's not going to happen. But
as far as snubs in this category, Daniel Craig I haven't seen the film, but a film called Queer by Luca Guadagnino, who also did Challengers. He had been getting a lot of buzz, but evidently did not have enough PR push behind him. I really love Hugh Grant in Heretic, like his performance in that. Again, horror typically doesn't get nominated. We are seeing it more so with the women now, but not along the lines of for men yet. And then there was Viggo Mortensen. I do want to mention this film because I'm going to be the only one talking about this film than remembering this film, because I'm actually have a hard time remembering what it's called. So that's a problem, right?
I don't know, and I don't have time to look it up, but we have to kind of keep moving. So
The Dead Don't Hurt. No, I'm sorry. The film was called The Dead Don't Hurt. Okay, he directed it. He had a heavy hand in producing it. I do think he was amazing in it. And there's another performance from it, Vicky Krieps, which I'll talk about briefly in a minute. And then Jesse Eisenberg. Why not nominate him for Best Actor for Real Pain? He's the great foil or not the foil, but he's the kind of the straight man to the foil, I suppose, if there is one in a Real Pain.
That would have been great if they could both win, him and Eisenberg.
Yeah. And they might, because Eisenberg could win for screenplay, so we'll see.
Yeah, that would be great. Best Actress nominees: Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Emily Perez, Mickey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here.
Yeah, so this race has been all over the place. You've got, and it's interesting because it is a lot of first-time nominations. Cynthia Erivo was nominated for Harriet before. She was also nominated for Best Song for Harriet. The others are all first-time nominees. Carla Sofia Gascon has officially canceled herself out of the race. I think we can say that's the big controversy around Emilia Perez with her tweets and supposedly they're racist and I don't know if they're misogynistic, but they were very problematic tweets that got her in trouble. And maybe you look at somebody's past before you hire them for a job, especially one that's so high profile.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's basically been erased from the whole PR campaign. She has no shot to win. She's not been at any of the award ceremonies, but I believe she is going to be at the Oscars tonight. So it'll be interesting how they handle that. They probably won't mention her that much. Obviously, she's got to be named among the nominees, but
Right.
probably won't deal with it much. But anyway, so you had Mikey Madison. She won the BAFTA, the Independent Spirit Award. Demi Moore won the Golden Globe, SAG, Critics' Choice. Fernanda Torres won a Golden Globe. Interesting note about her is her mother was nominated for this award in 1998 for a film called Central Station.
Wow.
Another Brazilian foreign film. So that's kind of a cool little note here. If she would be the dark horse to sneak in there and win. But I do think it comes down to between Demi Moore and Mikey Madison. I ultimately think Demi Moore is going to win it. But wouldn't it be ironic if they gave the award to the younger, version of, a younger actress, basically kind of dispelling the whole point of not dispelling, but proving the whole point of the substance where the younger actress prevails. So I think if the Academy's thinking along those lines and not thinking too much about it, or if they are thinking too much about it, they vote for Demi Moore instead, because otherwise they're just undercutting the message of the substance, right? By awarding the younger.
I think you're talking about it for Cynthia Erivo wins, correct?
No, I'm talking about Demi Moore winning. I don't think Erivo has a chance. I love her.
Being the younger actress. Who are you?
Mikey Madison for Honora.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't see Honora.
No. Mikey Madison, I'd say Demi Moore and Mikey Madison are your front runners.
To me, though, it should come down to the best performance.
I agree.
And I'm sure you agree with that. Yeah.
I agree. And that's why I would vote for Mikey Madison. But if the Academy's thinking about this whole, respecting older women and older roles and everything, they probably give it to Demi Moore. That's why I think she gets the award, because it's political. These awards are political, Ed. It's not always about the actual performance. So,
exactly.
But they are both deserving. Not that Demi Moore is not deserving. I did really think she was great in this film, but I think that Mikey Madison does a lot more with her role. And among these nominees, I would vote for Mikey Madison, but I also would probably vote for 3 or 4 women above her that weren't even nominated. So, like, for instance, Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl was great. I thought that it would be cool for her to get nominated. Who would have thought Pamela Anderson would ever be nominated for an Oscar?
Yeah, good for her.
But she deserved. She was very deserving. Amy Adams for Night Bitch, Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl, Angelina Jolie for Maria. I'm shocked she wasn't nominated. Yeah. Maybe because did they use AI in that one too? I don't know.
They could have put her in with Demi Moore. It's like, older actresses getting their say, it could have been interesting. And then they all lose to Honora, to Mickey Madison.
I mean, you also had Zendaya in Challengers. You had Kirsten Dunst in Civil War. You had Kate Winslet in Lee. Both of those playing photojournalists. And then I want to mention the Vicky Krieps for the Viggo Mortensen film, The Dead Don't Die, The Dead Don't Hurt. She's actually my favorite performance of the year. Number one, Vicky Krieps for The Dead Don't Hurt. This is a movie that nobody saw. Obviously, nobody's talking about it, but she is so amazing in this film that I would have certainly have her in there. But I think of the people that are nominated there, I would vote for Mikey Madison. I love Cynthia Erivo and Wicked. She's probably a close second for me. But I go with Mikey. But I do think the Academy is going to lean towards Demi Moore and giving the Brat Pack legend her moment.
Okay. Now we're going to have to I hate the best part of the show. We've got to kind of speed through, but we've got about 10, maybe 15 minutes if we're lucky, of this recording. So we're moving on to Best Director. The nominees are Sean Baker, Honora, Brady Corbett, The Brutalist, James Mangold, A Complete Unknown, Jacques Emily Perez, Coraline Farge for for The Substance.
Yeah, clearly you never took French. Jacques Ardois and Coralie Farge, Brady Corbet. This could have been the all French zone here. So all first-time director nominees. They're all up for screenplay, which is interesting. So this is an interesting category too, because I think, how is Denis Villeneuve not nominated here?
That's
What?
exactly. Here we go again.
Like, he wasn't nominated for part 1 and he's not nominated for part 2. Like, I really hope they give part 3 the Lord of the Rings Return of the King treatment and it wins everything. Like, I'm on board for it. When part 3 comes out, it better win Best Picture and Director, because I don't get it.
If he's going to do a part 3, I've seen weird conflicting statements about him. There was one last year where he's like said something about Star Wars.
Part 3. I think he'll do part 3 and be done. But also Edward Berger for Conclave, Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys, John Chu for Wicked. This is why I like the director category. It makes no sense. I would not have Ardois in there. I honestly don't think I would have Mangold in there. And I like A Complete Unknown. But Denis Villeneuve should have been there. I think John Chu for Wicked should have been in there. John Chu won the what was it? I think he won the Critics. No, it was recently. I think it was the Critic. Was it the Critics' Choice? I don't know. He won a big award recently. John Chu did, for Best Director, and it was funny because they said the winner of this usually goes on to win the Oscar, and John Chu during his acceptance speech is like, "I'm winning an Oscar." It's like, "Oh wait, no, I'm not nominated." So I do think it comes down to Sean Baker and Brady Corbet. For Sean Baker and Nora Corbet, The Brutalist. I think it's going to go to Sean Baker as my pick because he won the Directors Guild Award. So that's usually a better indication. He won the DGA. He won the Independent Spirit. Even though Corbet won the Golden Globe and the BAFTA, I mean, I could see it going to Corbet because a hell of a job to Brady Corbet for directing The Brutalist on $10 million. I just want to impress upon that. And Anora was cheap too, though. I don't think it was more than $20 or $30 million. So
I feel like you are right. I feel like you're right with Corbet. The only reason I said Mangold because that was the only film in there that I saw, and the fact that I did enjoy A Complete Unknown. But I don't think Mangold's going to win it. Sean Baker, but I could see Bradley Corbet getting it as well. So I think that's an inspired pick by you because I feel like that could happen. Yeah. And then I guess we're up to the final category, the most important of the night.
Yeah.
Best Picture. The nominees are Anora from Neon, The Brutalist, A24, A Complete Unknown, Searchlight, Conclave, Focus, Dune Part 2, Warner Brothers, Amelia Perez, Netflix, I'm Still Here, Sony Classics, Nickel Boys, Amazon, MGM, The Substance, Mubi, Wicked, Universal. All right.
Yeah, so, I have under my name there weirdest Oscars season ever because it all revolved around Best Picture, really, because early on, Anora was the early frontrunner. Months ago, people were talking about, okay, Anora is the Best Picture frontrunner. But then Amelia Perez started to creep up. The Brutalist started to creep up. And Amelia Perez actually, as you see there, has the most nominations with 13. But then all the controversy started to happen between Gascon and her twits. And then the AI controversy, which, briefly, let's just say, like, I think that's kind of silly because in both cases of The Brutalist and Amelia Perez, they were using AI within the sound editing ramifications to try to make the film better. I don't think it stole jobs from anybody. So in this instance, I think the AI conversation is irrelevant. Not that it's going to be irrelevant on other things moving forward. I just think in these two cases, it was a non-issue, which unfortunately for The Brutalist, I think it hurt The Brutalist's chances. So now The Brutalist is out of the Best Picture running, I think. And I think Amelia Perez is definitely dead in the water. So those were becoming the two favorites, especially after the Golden Globes. But once all this controversy with the AI and Gascon happened, they both started slipping. Anora moved back up, and Conclave has moved back up. So I think the two films with the best chances of winning Best Picture are Anora and Conclave. And if I'm betting, I'm going to put my money on Anora. It just won the PGA, the Producers Guild Award. That's usually a pretty good indication of what's going to win. It also won the Critics' Choice. It won the Independent Spirit Award. As you see there, Brutalist, Emilia Perez won Golden Globes, but as I've said, they've fallen off. Conclave won at the BAFTAs. Now it is a British film, so that has some sort of right. That definitely influences that. And then it won at the SAG Awards, which the actors are part of the voting body. So Conclave could sneak in there and win, but I do think Anora wins. I'm okay with it. The only as you could probably tell, the only one film of these 10 that I would not have in here is Emilia Perez. So I like the other 9 films. They all are in my top 25 of the year. 5 of these films that are nominated are in my top, or actually 5 of these films are my top 5. So I have Dune Part 2 as number 1. I have The Brutalist as number 2. I have Wicked as number 3. Conclave for Nickel Boys 5. And then I round out my top 10 with A Real Pain, Challengers, Wild Robot, Maria. And if I'm missing one, sorry, this isn't that show, I guess. But I do think Challengers, A Real Pain, Wild Robot, Maria, and I want to say, what was my other? Oh, Civil War. I loved Civil War. That was also in my top 10. But we are both in agreement here. We both love Dune Part 2, think it should be called Best Picture this year. We know it's not going to, but we vote for it. We stand for.
I am on Team Chalamet this year. Well, he actually goes back to the Willy Wonka. What was it? Wonka. I enjoyed that. My wife dragged me to that, and I liked it. And then I couldn't drag her to A Complete Unknown. She had no interest, but I saw it and I loved it. And my brother was in town, and my sister, and we all went and saw it. And I maybe it's because we all got to go see a movie together. I don't know. I just thought it was a good film, and I enjoyed it. And I think Chalamet has done a wonderful thing with that film, and just everyone. So if Dune is the best film, it is. It's a masterpiece of sound, visual. And for me, A Complete Unknown was very close. So it's like the year of Chalamet. I don't know. We'll see. I agree with some of your Nosferatu, a snub. I felt like that such an auteur kind of film that it would have somehow snuck in the nominations there.
Yeah, I think if you're ever going to nominate a Robert Eggers film for Best Picture, it's the one that he basically adapts the classic 1921 or whatever year the original silent film came out. And it's extremely faithful to that original film, almost shot for shot in a lot of places.
Painstakingly. Yeah.
So I thought that was going to get a Best Picture nomination. But for the first time in a while that we have 2 foreign films up for Best Picture. They usually pick the best one and throw it in there. And and then there's I wish that they would get back into throwing the best animated film back into Best Picture. I really think Wild Robot should have been up for Best Picture.
I agree. It was definitely one of the best films of the year. And shame it's not there. Hopefully it gets some other, Oscars somewhere else. So that's the show. This is March 2nd, 2025, when we're recording this is our pre-show on the day of the Oscars. We've both been so busy this year, both of us just trying to get to movies, and between work and school and everything else, it's, busy time. We will be back sometime, maybe this week, if schedules permit. Maybe we can do our post Oscar show that we normally do, and see where our picks landed, see if we got any of them right, and for what we thought would win, and what are our favorites and the surprises, because the Oscars always got a surprise or two, something you don't see coming. Any last thoughts before we go, Scott?
Just happy to do this again. I love doing this, and I love this time of year, even though I'm getting getting a little more disillusioned with the Academy and their, and how they pick films. It's never more evident than this year that it's political. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm always aware there's an element of politics to the Oscars, but for me, it's always been the standard of what great film is. I look back at, what was nominated for Best Picture in 1964, and hope that that's an accurate time capsule of what great film was for each year. So I do.
I'm sorry, you glitched for a second. Could you repeat what you just said? I'm sorry.
I mean, it might have just glitched for you. I don't know. I just want to reiterate that the Oscars should be the standard for what great film is, and I wish that politics would be thrown out. And unfortunately, this season we've seen it more so than ever.
I'm afraid we're going to get it between the fires and other stuff that happened, but what's happened recently in the news, which I'm trying not to mention, I really don't want to watch the Oscars tonight and see all of that real life encroach on the Oscar experience. And
hopefully a lot of the winners don't get too political. I think that there is a chance that will happen on a few of them. I don't think this is the platform for that. There's a lot of people that do, like, these artists think that this is my chance to speak my mind and be political. It's like, no, talk about the film.
Talk about your performance.
Yeah, talk about the film that you won and your experience on that film and your experience with the crew. And don't make it political, please. Let's celebrate the art of film, not your political ideals. So I'm hoping we don't get a lot of that tonight. And I'm really looking forward to Conan.
Me too.
I hope that he handles it well. Will he make political jokes? Of course, but he's going to be the same silly Conan that we all have come to love. So I think that,
and it's nice to have one host. To actually have a host, and then
to even actually have a host.
So it's a good thing. Anyway, so we got to wrap it up. We're running out of time here. I hope you all enjoy the Oscars. Let us know in the comments when you hear this. I'm going to try to get this posted before the show in audio format, so you may hear this afterwards. I don't know. Because the pre-shows are probably close to starting. It's almost 3:00 at the time we're recording this on March.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, not to rush you there, but hopefully you can get this up as quickly as possible, so people have time to watch. If they didn't
the video will go up quicker than the audio will, so it'll be on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Geek Homeworld 4248, or just go on YouTube and search Geek Homeworld. You'll find us. Anyway, so I got to run the outro. We're running out of recording time. Thank you, Scott, for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and all the hard work you did in helping me put this together, as always. And we'll talk later. And I'm going to do the outro. All right. Welcome to the Geek Homeworld podcast. I'm your host, Ed, aka the Savage Tech Man. We talk film, TV, and tech, all from a geek perspective. You can find us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and you can subscribe and follow on YouTube at Geek Homeworld. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Be a part of the Geek Homeworld.